Very cool radio, Sarasota, Florida. We have a great guest today, second time on this show. My friend called Jerry ADDICOTT. Good afternoon, Jerry.
Good afternoon. And as Frank Sinatra used to sing, there's nothing better than the second time around.
Wow.
So I'm pleased to be joining you again this afternoon.
Right. And one of my, go ahead and play a little music for us. I've been into.
Yeah, this is my Buck Creek Jazz Band playing.
Buck Creek Jazz Band. Let's listen to it. Let's listen to it.
This is a great old blues by Ma Rainey, singer of 1920s.
1920.
It's called "Oh My Babe Blues."
Oh My Babe Blues.
Yeah.
Now, Jerry.
Yes.
What is the story behind jazz? Why people from all different backgrounds like jazz? What is this with jazz? What is the contagion with the jazz?
Well, it's, first of all, I think it's because, now I am no musicologist, you understand, nor a music historian. I just love to listen to music and play a little banjo. I think it's because what we call jazz is a fusion of many, many different kinds of music, often or usually what we would consider folk music.
Right.
Certainly blues, gospel, all sorts of sources for jazz.
Right.
It's typified by, a good solid beat, pretty melodies, and nice harmonies. At least the kind of jazz I like.
Let's listen to it a little bit more.
The tuba player was John Wood. John, of course, this was all a hobby for all of us. John Wood was a pilot in the war. He worked for the Army Map Service. He worked for the Weather Bureau. He used to fly airplanes into hurricanes, check them. And he ended up with the Army Map Service. The cornet, Jim Ritter, was an architect. So we all did different things and got together and did this for fun. This was recorded in the Opera House in Central City, Colorado, about 20 years ago.
Wow. Let's listen to it a little bit.
Tuba banjo. What a note.
Wow. What a note. Now, I have an interesting question for you. It's probably fair to say that anybody who can run a jazz band of 7, 8, 9 different instruments could be a good politician in delegating order to people, no?
Well, that's a very apt question. You a really good band, everyone has to cooperate and listen to each other and respect each other, because you're listening acutely to try to anticipate what's going to happen next, because we don't have all the music written out like an orchestra does. So, yeah, you've got to work by definition. You are working together.
Right.
I wish. Now, that's not necessarily true of today's politics, you understand, but in a more ideal world, yes.
But now, let's elaborate a little bit on that word cooperation you just mentioned. What can you give us an example of your band, your orchestra band, cooperation from the band point of view?
Well, of course, making the music together is indeed cooperation. But we all had to work with each other. When we would do a gig somewhere, we had all this sound equipment. We'd all have to lug the speakers and the microphones from the guy's van, kept it all, and, set it all up. One time we were doing that at a festival. We were on the stage in Washington State, and I noticed the trombone player was walking across the stage, and suddenly everything was shaking. It turned out we were having an earthquake, and that sort of scared us all. Yeah. We had, there were some moments that challenged our spirit of cooperation, and were really sort of embarrassing. We played a gig up in Baltimore for a retirement party for somebody from the U.S. Park Service. And so there was this dinner in some big place. Everybody had dinner, and then the band was supposed to play after dinner. Well, we started playing, and at the end of the first tune, somebody came to the microphone and said, Weyerhaeuser Timber, or some other big lumber company, is having a free party in the next room. Drinks are on them. 100% of that audience got up and left. The only people that were left were a couple of band wives and the very embarrassed guy that asked us to come up there. He said, well, you guys, I guess you might as well drive back home to Washington, but you'll get paid anyway. Oh, God.
Oh, that's funny. But, you touch a big subject there. You travel, you cooperate, you listen, you work together, and travel together. Now, there's a saying, behind every great man, there is a great lady. Your wife, Sue Ellen, she must like one of your songs. Have you asked her one day?
Well, I did. I asked her the other day, I want to play your favorite song. She said, you can't ask my favorite song. It's like asking, which of my kids is my favorite kid? So I said, okay, well, that's true. I'm not going to.
Okay.
I know the one I just played is one that she likes, and there's another interesting aspect to that. You heard that tuba banjo duet on Oh My Babe Blues. Shortly after we moved here to Sarasota, it turned out, and I was still playing with the Buck Creek Jazz Band, on the road when we would do festivals and cruises. So the band had a cruise out of Tampa, the port up in Tampa. Right. So I wanted to try to set up a gig or two for them here in Sarasota before that cruise.
Right.
So I went to a lady that I knew that ran concerts and the Artist Series concerts here in Sarasota, and said,
Right.
you like promoting things. How about a band? She said, well, let me hear it. So I gave her this CD, a copy of this CD, and she said, Jerry, I said, I can't book the whole band, but I really liked, I want you and Jay Huntsberger to do a banjo tuba duet like that for one of my forthcoming fundraising parties.
Right.
Well, Jay Huntsberger was the principal tuba player of the Sarasota Orchestra. And
right.
So I called him and said, listen, she wants us to play something. What tunes do you know? He said, send me the music, I'll play anything. I said, wait a minute. We don't use music. I mean, what tunes? Think of a tune that you know, and then we can, jazz it up and play it. No, he said, you've got to. Most professional musicians don't jam. They need to read the music. So that didn't work. So I found a tuba player down here that did play jazz, and so he and I did that, and that sort of started my band down here.
And then, can you remind the listener about the name of your band in Sarasota?
Yeah, we called it Second Wind because it was kind of the second time around, and so we called it Second Wind, and we would play, here and there, often in senior retirement homes for parties, and not doing that currently because they're all kind of locked down. So there's not much. I'm not playing much music these days, but it's fun to listen.
Do you have any song from the Second Wind by any chance?
Nope, we did not do any recordings.
Okay.
Nope.
Now, you mentioned a corporation, listening, working together, and traveling together. What are some of the lessons on listening have you learned during your travel?
Well, one lesson was be careful if there's too much free alcohol, because that can come back and bite you. We did a festival in Edinburgh, Scotland, and this thing started off, it was a part of the Fringe Festival, which is a subset of the great big Edinburgh Music Festival in early September. And so this thing started off with a parade.
Right.
And so each band was in a truck. We were in a truck. And, of course, the whole festival was sponsored by Dry Bros Beer. I mean,
wow,
there was beer everywhere.
Everywhere.
And unfortunately, like many parades, this one got stuck. It just creep along and then stop and creep along and then stop. And, of course, they had kegs of beer right there in the truck. Well, anyway, I'm not going to go into further detail. But you learn to budget your time and other things.
Right. So let's move to the next question. Work together. Lessons. Working together.
Yeah. We had a lot of mutual respect. And as I have said before, sometimes some professional jealousies and all. But as soon as the music started playing, all of that just vanished. And it was all focused on making the music.
Can you elaborate on professional jealousy without saying any names?
Well,